I was able to somewhat receive an answer from her parents and some of her friends who reached out to me on her behalf, and one of them also showed me a message that my fiancé sent to her before choosing to block her. However, because my first post was removed for some reason, I'll summarize what it said here. Long story short, my fiancé and I were invited to a BBQ at the new home of one of her bridesmaids' best friends, and there were a lot of games there too. After everyone ate, Naomi and her husband gathered everyone for an impromptu talent show and encouraged everyone to participate. A few people didn't play, but my fiancé did, as a few of her friends did too. In my first post, I forgot to mention that she knew about the games beforehand, so she already had her act in mind before the party. When it was her turn, she tried to use a chair to do a headstand on the grass, placing her head on the base of the chair and holding the armrest with her hands. But when she went up, the chair tipped backward as she fell on her back, and a few of us ran over, including myself, to make sure she was okay. She was crying after it happened before me, and one of her bridesmaids helped assist her to the bathroom away from everyone. And when we were inside, she said she wanted to leave. I helped her to the car and told her that I'd get her things so that she wouldn't have to see anyone anymore. And the bridesmaid best friend stayed with her by the car as I did this. She was still crying on the drive back, and when we got home, she wanted to be left alone. I figured it was best not to push her into talking, so I tried my best to give her the space she wanted. She didn't talk about it until the next day, when she told me that she wanted to uninvite everyone at the party that saw her fall. And that was our first conversation. I told her that while I understood it was embarrassing and couldn't understand what she was feeling, uninviting everyone seemed like a bit much and might be emotional thinking too. But after I said that, she said that she wanted to postpone the wedding. And I told her that she should take more time because she might feel differently in a few days. And she didn't find solace when I told her that no one would care in a couple of days too. She then said she didn't want to talk anymore and decided to sleep downstairs and eat separately from that night on. And it really hurt when she did that. However, she also decided to contact the wedding planner and tell her that we decided to cancel behind my back. And that was what made me write my first post. When I tried to talk to her after finding out, she yelled at me and told me to leave her alone. And that was when I reached out to my parents, who suggested that I try to contact hers. Update. After ignoring me and telling the planner we were canceling, I felt that that was her way of saying we were done despite not officially saying it to me. When I tried to reach out to her parents numerous times before my first post, they missed every call and never returned my detailed email about what had happened in the week since the party. A few people commented that I wasn't being considerate of her feelings, but I feel like I tried my best to support her. From helping her leave without seeing anyone, getting her things, and not pushing her to talk until she was ready. I don't feel like I was pushy at all. A few people also said that she could have suffered a brain injury from falling from chair height and never visiting a doctor, stating how side effects don't always show immediately, but that she should still get checked out. It was almost a week from the party when I wrote my first post, and in my edit, I said that I would try to email her parents again, because my top priority was making sure she was okay and hoping that they could convince her to see a doctor, since she refused when I asked. I've since tried to email them numerous times, but I have since been blocked as my email has not been returned either. I've tried to talk to my fiancé since too, but she said that she'd be leaving to stay with her sister after she gathered everything she wanted to. I'll get back to that in a moment, but in my last post, I mentioned how her best friends, bridesmaids, reached out to me to ask me how she was doing since the fall, and they also told me that she had ghosted their texts, calls, and that they were concerned about her. I was surprised because some of them were her best friends, and if she'd vent to anyone, I figured it'd be them. They were also concerned that she didn't get checked and had left their messages on read. But as of writing this, she has also blocked them too. However, one of her best friends sent me a text that my fiancé sent to her about the bridesmaid who helped her to the bathroom. And as far as I know, she's the only one who received a response so far. Long story short, my fiancé vented to her about how she didn't want help when she and a few others, including myself, ran over after she fell. And she also vented about how Naomi and her husband were show-offs for hosting a barbecue in their new home, among other things. However, when the best friend told her that no one was thinking about her fall and that everyone who ran over was genuinely concerned about her and that she should get herself checked, that's when she blocked her and didn't respond. As of right now, my ex-fiancé is staying with her sister after she came over to help her with her things. And it was only when she was there that my fiancé finally decided to say that she was done. I told her that I received the message when she told the planner we had canceled behind my back. But some of her best friends told me that they were sorry for me and that they were surprised with her actions too after hearing about how she treated me at home. I personally thought that it was connected to her pride of currently doing yoga and being a former gymnast. But some things I guess I'll never know. It still hurts a lot with the sudden shock. But some people recommended talking to a therapist, and it's something I'm trying to consider with my insurance. Wedding stuff is complicated, but I just want it to be over soon. Dad's suggesting a lawyer, and that's where we're looking at right now, although it still hurts like hell. Edit, our wedding was scheduled for the summer, and we had been together for a few years since around post-college after knowing each other in college. This was the first that I had ever seen her embarrassed in front of other people in such a way. But when others asked if she had shown similar reactions to things not going her way in the past, this was the first embarrassment like this. I don't know if she's faced similar things at her job, but she does not work at a customer-facing company, and never told me if it ever did. Opus's ex has a restraining order against him, and his ex now lives in the same apartment complex as him. My ex-wife and I had a rocky marriage. My alcoholism didn't help. She pushed for a divorce. We lived together during this divorce, and one day I found out she was dating another man. I snapped and hit her pretty hard. I was charged with assault, spent 3 months in jail, went to anger management, and I was also issued a 3-year restraining order. This was 2 years ago. I have since sobered up, met a wonderful woman, and moved to a completely different apartment complex in a completely different part of the city, and never had any further contact with my ex-wife. I admit what I did was wrong. I paid the price. I've seen reestablished myself. My current woman, who I've been in a relationship with for 2 years, is aware of this background story, which makes things slightly easier. Well, unknown to me, my ex moved into my apartment complex about 5 months ago with her now new husband, who had always lived here. I did not know this. I saw her in the lobby just before New Year's. She greeted me. I turned shocked and said hello. She asked me what I was doing in the lobby. I said I was just coming in from work. She told me that the restraining order is still in effect and I need to move out. I tried to reason with her and told her I'd be happy to steer clear of her. I know we don't live on the same floor. I don't even know what floor she lives on. I don't care to know. I told her if I saw her on an elevator, I wouldn't get in and just wait for the next one. She told me she was going and forced the restraining order against me. My partner and I literally just signed a brand new 2-year lease 6 months ago. We love the place we live in and wouldn't want to move. And it feels unjust having to move, incur financial hardship because the person I had a restraining order against moved into my apartment complex. The reason why I'm bringing this up is cause last night building management was informed of the restraining order and told us we need to figure this out. Would she really be able to force me out of my home even though I lived here before her? As long as I do my best to avoid any contact with her, which I'm perfectly fine doing, shouldn't that be sufficient? I work a really early schedule, and the fact is she was dating this guy and coming over to this apartment complex for the entire time I've been here. And we ran crossed paths. And she's been living here full-time for 5 months and just recently crossed paths. Not sure what to do. FYI, this is New York City. Update. The public defender that represented me was no longer practicing in the NYC area, but I retained a lawyer who was a friend of a friend who had experience in this area. My lawyer got references from my employer, and AA sponsor. Our goal was to get the restraining order modified to a simple no-contact order with no distance requirements so I could continue living with my partner. I spoke to the judge, told him my story, what I had done to correct my past transgressions. He reviewed my record. We submitted our references. During this time period, I was crashing on a friend's couch as to not violate my protective order. Poe said I had paid my fines, followed all the rules, and never once had to remind me of my restrictions, and so forth, and said he was impressed with my turnaround. My employer said that I was always early, never seemed to be under the influence or hangover from anything, and even at our company functions was very open and honest about my sobriety and didn't partake in drinking. My AA sponsor said good things about me too, how he was impressed with my maturity and openness on my alcoholism and addiction. Then the judge asked my ex-wife to speak. My ex-wife said she was shocked by my turnaround. She said that it seemed unfair to her to require me to move because she moved into my building unknowingly, and that she no longer felt threatened by me. This was a shock to both my lawyer and I, as I expected my ex to want to keep the protective order in place. The judge said that he wouldn't modify the protective order, but lift it entirely as he felt it had served its purpose, and that based upon my references, my testimony, and most importantly, the testimony of my ex that he didn't see how keeping it place was benefiting anymore. He did tell my ex that if she ever felt threatened or in danger because of something I said or did, she could contact the police. The judge then told me his main reason for lifting the order was to allow me to live in my current apartment, but advised it was a good idea to avoid contact with my ex to avoid any potential complications down the road. He reminded me because of my past it wouldn't take much to get another protective order put in place. I told the judge I had no intention of contacting to my ex, and I was thrilled that I don't have to move and get to stay with my current girlfriend. So over the course of this weekend I moved back into my apartment with my girlfriend. I'm glad this was resolved.